Oh, what the heck? What's going on here? What the heck? Who am I? What's going on here?
Who are you?
Something silly's going on here. Hi, everyone. How's it going?
I don't exist.
Maris has been snapped from existence.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe
Maris
we
is
have
still here.
trans mask erasure.
Hold on. Let me refresh Maris's source. There we go. Now Maris is here. Hold on a second though.
There he is.
Now I'm me. Unsnapped. Hi. Welcome to another episode of Comet Tales. If you're new to our adventures, I'm your host, Oliver Oswald, and I'd like for our amazing players to introduce themselves and their characters. Let's start with Maris Oram playing his character, Valentine Vonderheist.
Hello, everyone. I'm here. I'm back from being Thanos snapped. And I am a Celestial Dragon VTuber. I specialize in storytelling streams. We talk about all things literature and novels and media literacy. And I also run my own D&D campaign every other Wednesday called The Trial of Hearts. It's an ode to all things romantic fantasy. So if you like drama, intrigue, and shenanigans, definitely check that out. But while I am here for Comet Tales, I am playing the ever lovely, ever posh Valentine Vonderheist, the party gunslinger, who is totally fine. Totally fine. Having a great time.
Definitely not in the midst of having a breakdown along with everyone else in the party.
No, everything's good.
Oh, I don't know about everyone.
You might be okay. Up next, we have the lovely Lily Faywood playing her character, Lyra Vonderheist.
Not enough L's in there for you. Yes, hello everyone. My name is Lily. I am an aspiring artist that draws a lot of D&D stuff, including Lyra herself. I also run my own D&D campaign, Mistwalker Spectrum of Eternity. Uploading that to YouTube. No stream for that, but uploading every 2 weeks-ish, depending on, if we find time to meet. But with that, I am playing in this lovely campaign of Comet Tales. I'm playing Lyra, the Lamia Astrologian. Very excited to be here. Very excited to be queer, and Lyra's doing really great, having seen 3 people die on her watch. Yay!
It's a rough time, but we're happy to have you. Up next,
hey, we saved 2 out of 3.
That's true. Very true. A very exciting welcome back to Beatrix Bunny, playing her character Zuza Sylvana.
Hi everyone. My name is Beatrix Bunny. I'm generally a taxidermy jackalope VTuber brought to life by love and mad science. Sometimes I'm a New York goblin auntie. But either way, I do variety streams that tend to focus on roguelikes, digital artwork, and RPGs. Currently, I'm working through running a campaign of Deadlands, which is supernatural Wild West horror that tickles your fancy. And I am playing Zuza Sylvana, the living canister of a sun-devouring primordial entity and the Hampure warlord. And I left for 5 minutes last session to rest up after dying, and I've come back to discover, oops, all dead.
And it will be something of a rude awakening, I feel, for sure.
Yeah.
Lastly, and certainly not least, we have Azura, the Azure Dragon, playing as her character, Ashala.
Hi, my name is Azure the Azure Dragon. I'm a variety stream and content creator that is here today to play Ashala, my Soul Knife rogue who has recently discovered that her family's really fucked up. And having realized that her father is currently the new leader of the Gith, is now is still sticking with the pie through thick and thin after the harrowing ordeal, and not gonna lie, with how things are going, it could be worse. It could be worse, but it will get better. Also, she's very, very much gay right now for the strike.
Yes, it's finally happening.
It's finally happening.
We'll get into that in just a minute. But in the meantime, a very special thank you to Borobound for providing us, and Distant Echoes as well, for the amazing soundtracks that we have been using in our game. Thank you to Vesper Fortune for lore consulting. And of course, an incredible thank you to Caitlin Frost, also known as Frog Shop, for all of the artwork that we have been using. How about we pull up some of that lovely soundtrack that we have? Something a little bit heart-wrenching, I think. In our last session, Ashala took a moment to get back in touch with her newly recollected memories before returning to the remainder of the Crystal Dragons, waiting within the abandoned Gith Temple. Valentine and Lyra took a moment to question if they had gotten in over their heads. Together, the 3 captains took a moment to rekindle their dwindling hope and noted 2 abandoned red dragon eggs. Ashala, wanting to get revenge upon her father for his actions, sought to keep the 2 dragons, perhaps to deliver them to Miss on her long, lonely journey. Settling in with what they could carry, Zuza and the eggs, the captains re-emerged, only to realize that mere seconds had passed despite the hours they spent within the pocket dimension. The crew was seemingly a bit discouraged at the idea of challenging the Illithid, but was assured that together the Crystal Dragons could flee if needed. Crew took time to steel their own resolve and prepare for the battles ahead. Before setting off, Lyra had attuned with the rift and felt an incredible wave of power invigorate her. New yet ancient magics, now hers to command. Each captain took time with the crew. One or another, Ashala and Lyra in particular formed a long-awaited bond together. Valentine took a moment with almost every crew member, determined to keep morale up. Zuza, though incapacitated and resting, was revealed to have been fundamentally altered by Lyra's star-like revivify spell. Rather than being a creature without a beating heart and breathless lungs, Zuza has seemingly come to life. Though seemingly adjusting to the nature of this new state of being and needing to rest, Ashala takes some time to see what other gifts her new Gith blade will bequeath to her. Meditating and attuning to the blade, within moments Ashala found herself on the edge of a distant, beautiful world, for a great body of water, and sitting at the edge of a forest, where a mysterious chorus of voices spoke as one, knowingly speaking and calling for Ashala. They did not reveal themselves to Ashala, but mentioned having left the blade, prophecy, to her. After some time, the crew had returned to Ardero, seeing a petering resistance from the Federation station. They knew that there were still survivors, few, if any. Before they could travel to rescue the survivors, 3 Nautiloid ships approached and surrounded the ship, beginning a devastating combat against mind flayers that would severely harm Valentine and much of the crew, while also taking the lives of Chex and Groba, but only Chex could be saved. We return here, on the deck of the Crystal Dragon, where Eben has lain Groba's body on the top deck, seemingly hesitant to move away from what is left of the crew's companion, before their eyes flash and the middle golem stands. Rather than Eben's cadence, the hollow construct Echo speaks instead, a hand reaching to their chest. They were too strong for us. The construct's body turned to face the crew. We were unprepared for such an ambush, and 3 of us were overconfident in taking on the Illithid. I'm sorry.
It's no one's fault. But I think proceeding forward is going to be a very poor decision here. If we're going to approach this situation, we've done all we can.
I'm in agreement with Captain Shala. We agreed the terms of this endeavor were to scout and retreat if things were too dangerous. And I think we are all in agreement that this was far more dangerous than any of us anticipated. So I believe in our best interests, we must retreat back to the fleet and report our findings.
If I recall correctly, the 3 ships that did attack us weren't the only ships that did in fact approach the planet, if I recall correctly, yes?
There were hundreds of Nautiloids. These 3 just happened to be passing through. Currently, from where you are, you don't happen to see any additional ships nearby. You suspect that the planet is entirely under siege currently. And from a distance, from the projection that you can see, if you were to have looked earlier at the Federation station, the hull is littered with Nautiloids that have breached into the station, seemingly breaching, boarding, and attacking whoever might be on board.
Shala shakes her head. There's no way. If we were to go in there, that would just simply be suicide. I am not, as much as I feel for the people, that's not a winnable situation.
Again, I am in complete agreement with you. We've done all we can. And I'll not be risking anyone else on some suicidal mission.
This was only meant to be a recon anyway, and look what happened.
It's
Clearly, it
ready
was
for
much
us.
more than anyone had anticipated.
Considering how the second we entered this world, they were already on top of us. It's like they knew we were coming. We thought
It's
we
a
would have at
very-
least an element of surprise or at least an element of stealth to be able to recon, but no.
It is a very discomforting notion, Lyra, but unfortunately one that I cannot outrule as a possibility.
Either way, we can't stay here. No
Agreed.
doubt that not only the fact that there seems to be a vast number of them, that just one of their patrols happened to find us. It'll only be a matter of time until more come. We need to backtrack. Or at the very least, we need to report our findings. At least to Frigate.
I agree, because while our mission was indeed to liberate them from the Federation, I don't think anyone was expecting an Illithid invasion. This is far more than any one crew could handle. And I rather hope that we weren't thrown to the proverbial wolves. So, are we in agreement then? Return to the fleet?
Return to the fleet.
Lyra wordlessly nods her head, still with a sunken face.
Eben, Echo, I hesitate to ask you in a moment of grief, but would you resume your position and set a course for the fleet?
You seem to almost expect Evan's usual bow and readiness, but there's a hesitation, almost.
No.
And you see an affirmative nod instead, knowing Eben is not there right now. At least Echo is. Understood. It will be done.
Thank you.
And Evan begins to make his way out into the lower decks, where Randall is currently piloting. Down in the lower decks, a minor projection of Echo appears on Dr. Taktha's desk and seems to be communicating something that, Zuzi, you can't quite understand. You're still a bit groggy from waking up. There's an uncomfortable beating in your chest, and it feels like it's almost ringing through your ears. Your chest feels heavy, and you feel almost a sharp pain as air enters into your lungs. A sensation you're not used to. The projection disappears, and Taktha turns towards you. Captain, I see that you are awake.
As awake as I can be, I suppose.
He gently is going to reach his chitinous arms towards you and sort of lift you up a little bit. You're feeling at least well enough, and as you lift up, you actually feel that it's a bit easier to breathe that way. I do not know how to tell this to you, Captain, but after your incident within the Gith Rift, you have seemingly attained some form of reversing of your undead condition.
I'm sorry, I don't quite follow.
Well, you are a Dampier, are you not?
Well, it's an approximation, I suppose. Something similar. I was I wasn't under the assumption I was dead. Well, until
A form
today.
of on-life. It's a bit more clearly.
Is that why my chest is involuntarily moving now? Is that normal?
Indeed. So it would seem that you have come to life, as it were.
Oh.
This could be a reaction from the spell used to bring you to life, but it is far too risky for you to go and see the rest of your crewmates right now.
Oh, all right. Is everything quite all right with them?
There's almost a moment where he looks away and you see his mandibles sort of chitter just a bit. Almost as if like a swear under his breath. There have been casualties while you were incapacitated.
Casualties, but f- f- from where? I thought we were still clear of the combat zone.
It would seem that the Illithid had different intentions, and they have pursued the ship and began an onslaught. I did my best to ensure that you would be secure down here, but fortunately they seemingly couldn't harm you down here. Unfortunately, the same could not be said for Chex and Roba, who were both slain. Lyra was able to bring Chex back, but if I was not so involved with you, I would be up there right now working with Chex. Are you feeling well enough for me to go and inspect him?
Oh, yes, of course. Please take care of triage, doctor.
He gives a very polite bow, taking two of his hands and putting them to his chest before bowing, taking whatever kit he can, seemingly already packed and ready, and running his way up to the upper decks. He left the door open if you wanted to go.
Hmm. I mean, I guess it wouldn't hurt to try to. I'm still not used to needing to breathe. That feels very wrong.
And as you stand, you find that you're actually quite fine. You don't feel so out of balance, but it is an unusual weight that you've never quite experienced before, and you feel it almost through your entire body, in your fingers, in your legs, in your neck in particular.
I I'm not I'm not quite sure how to process this. Is I feel like I I'm still I'm still trying to wrap my head around the idea of casualties. So I'm a little distracted, although it's very hard to ignore when your body starts doing something that has quite literally never happened to you before. But yes, I suppose I'll try and steady myself a little bit, at least well enough to stand and try and head topside to see what the damage is.
As you're making your way up, you pass by one of a couple of portholes that are on the side of the ship. And just taking a moment, looking out one, you see what seems to be the ship beginning to move away. And there are 3 semi-destroyed nautiloids drifting away into deep space. And you realize that while you were out, seemingly quite a battle has occurred. And before long, you find yourself topside, where the 3 captains are waiting, circled around Grobo's body. It's almost scanning for more threats. But you are all reunited.
I could
Zuza.
scarce believe it myself, but I felt I needed to see.
I'm glad that you're up and about. I'm only sorry that this has to be the first thing you see.
I should have been there. I don't know what I would have done differently or additionally to any of you, but this is my fault somehow.
No, dear, don't place that on yourself. You were you were half dead yourself.
Yes, I've got an uncomfortable heaviness about me. It's most troubling, needing to breathe.
So
You did.
the doctor filled you in, then, did he?
Valentine, make a perception check.
Oh. Okay. Uh, 22.
Ooh.
You hear a whispering in your head. And you're uncertain if it's just the crew around you. The others are all seemingly working to clear the deck as much as possible and repair any damages that may have occurred. It's noisy, but whispering is different.
Can I presume this is my communicator device?
No. It is certainly different from the communicator. The communicator, you're familiar, has something of a vibration.
Yeah, that's why I was like, this is new. I don't know how I feel about that. Just gonna rub at her temples a little bit. And she should know better than to just chalk something up like this as nothing, but it's dealing
too
with
much to
whispers.
process.
Yeah, dealing with whisperings in her head is just one thing she can't deal with right now. So, so she's gonna play it off like she's got a headache. And well, despite everything that's occurred, it is good to see you on your feet, Captain Zuza.
Mm,
What I did won't be a problem, will it?
well,
I can't say that I meant to, but
I'm not sure. Never I've never experienced something quite like it before. I've never died before either. I imagine it might make things a touch complicated if we need to do another spacewalk, since I'm no longer sure if I can do without air for it. But uh, beyond that, I cannot really say one way or the other.
Whatever the case, you're with us. That's all that matters.
Lyra turns around to Ashala, she's been like kind of internally thinking about a lot of bad things, and just hearing that, it's just like, right, that's most certainly what's the most important.
This is the nature of space. Anything can happen. Like the lunar dragon killing a lot of my friends. And what happened here. Out here, anything can happen. That's just the name of it.
DM, I'm sure I can imagine the general vibes, but can I just get a quick vibe check on the rest of the crew, how everyone's looking?
Everyone seems to be off kind of doing their own thing, so it's a bit hard to get a picture by picture image of everyone. But there is a definite dour mood that has just overtaken the crew. At least beyond Evan, Echo, and Taktha.
That's to be expected, I
Hmm.
think, considering the circumstances. But I think once we're underway, I think Valentine will once again do her rounds to check in on everybody, just as a note.
Understood. Okay. If no one has anything else, then I believe we can begin to move on.
Mm.
All right.
Think
Valentine. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say first thing that Valentine would do would be to assist checks down to Taktha's.
You don't seem to have to do very much at the very least, as Taktha has already begun to move checks himself. And as soon as you lay a hand on checks, or Taktha lays a hand on checks, checks does not need help.
Now, Checks, Mr. Checks, you've had a very frightening situation. I think it's best to adhere to the doctor's wishes for your well-being for now.
Checks looks past you towards Groba, and very quickly looks away as soon as he makes eye contact with you. But at the very most, you can tell that his glasses are beginning to fog up a bit,
Oh.
and he is trying his utmost. There is no insight check that would be needed because it's just so plainly written upon him that he's trying his hardest to keep a strong face.
Oh. He does care.
Chex is only a couple of months from retirement.
No.
Oh no, the narrative red flags. No one asked Chex about his retirement.
Don't make
Don't
checks.
let him show any photos of family.
No.
Don't make checks regret this decision. And he weakly puts a finger into Valentine's torso before sort of waddling his way down into the lower decks.
Oh.
Who would you
Yeah,
like to
I
go
think-
visit next?
Yeah, I think next she would want to check on others who were particularly a part of the battle, so like Robert and Alexander.
Make your choice. The two of them are seemingly on opposite ends from one another, but
We'll start with Robert.
as you make your way over towards the Balliste, you see Robert is seemingly done with his repairs as much as he can do right now. And he's got his large knife that he usually keeps in his pouch behind him, just drawn, and he's just sort of sharpening it against the side of his armor, just running it against the steel. And he gives you a bit of a glance as you approach. Permission to speak, Captain.
Permission granted. What's on your mind, Robert?
He runs the blade a couple more times, seemingly trying to find the words. You know, this isn't all that different from my other jobs, you know.
No?
He shakes his head. This is just what happens. Don't beat yourself up over it. You know, as much as I'd like to believe it. And he looks out into space for a moment at the burning illithid ships and the void of space. No one's invisible.
Was that invisible or invincible?
Invincible.
Oh,
Are you trying to comfort me, Robert?
I've seen how it goes, Captain.
Well, I thank you for your concern, but I assure you I'm quite all right. If anything, I wanted to ensure your own well-being and to thank you for your assistance in the battle. You were a pillar of fortitude.
He gives a nod to accept the compliment. But even for him, he seems to just not really know what else to say at this point.
Well, I understand this is a difficult time for everybody, and there's no need to be completely stoic, so, Robert, if you find there's anything that I or the other captains can do for you, please do not hesitate to ask.
Aye, Captain. And he gives a nod as much as he can, thank, and just goes back to watching, sharpening his blade, and just overall seeming a bit tense, as much as he can be.
For sure. She'll give him a little nod before she heads off and looks for Alexander next.
You can see Alexander is not particularly far away now, but he lifts the body of an intellect devourer and just tosses it off of the side. He starts making his way towards another. Every single time he picks one up, he wipes off his hands. Every single time he throws one off board, he wipes off his hands.
Would you care for some assistance, Alexander?
Captain, no, in truth, I think it's good for me to put my mind elsewhere.
I understand. I wanted to ensure that you were doing all right, considering the unfortunate circumstances we find ourselves in.
He has a sort of uncomfortable smile on his face at your words. But looking into his eyes, and you know him better than most would, you see just an emotion you've not seen from Alexander before. And he seems to just look around a moment and notes that you're the only one that's currently around. And he steps forward just a bit closer. Captain, I've truly never been more frightened in my life. I don't know who I am, or who I was. I have nowhere else to go from here. I can feel safe by your side, Captain, knowing you're much like me, trying to find yourself, but... He glances over towards Lyra and Ashala and seems to hushen his voice a bit more from his whisper already. But I'm not made from the stuff of stars and legends. The moment you leave our side, I'm more vulnerable than I've ever been.
He gives a surprisingly soft smile at this admission. I think it's a bit more honesty than she's ever experienced in a while. And so she'll take one of his hands and gently pat the top of his knuckles and just... I understand completely, Captain. I have found that, well, the universe is so much bigger and frightening than I think I ever could have anticipated. And I do not pretend to understand your particular circumstances, given that there's memory lapses. I could tell you what I knew about you before, who you were, but I don't know if that would help, seeing as it doesn't match who you are now. And for what it's worth, I think you are a very brave person, Captain Alexander, for facing your fears every day. It would be so simple for you to run and bury your head in the sand. And once we get to the fleet, I assure you, if that is what you wish, I won't stop you. I won't be the one to keep you from finding comfort and safety.
He shakes his head at that.
But while you are here, I think you are doing remarkably, sir. And I admire your conviction and and strength of heart.
You can begin to see his eyes water at those words, and you notice now that very, very quickly he begins to just sort of stare past you towards Groba. Would that it was enough, Captain? Would that bravery was enough?
It often is. I don't want you to discount it. What happened was tragic. But I think things could have been much worse if not for the bravery of every person aboard this vessel. I asked a very difficult thing of each of you, but each of you rose to the task. So thank you.
He gives a nod. Thank you, Captain. It means a great deal to me. I'm sure it means just as much to the others as well.
Of course. And I said the same thing of Robert, but now is not the time to be completely stoic, so if you find that you need anything, you may, of course, request it of me or any of the co-captains.
Thank you, Captain.
She'll give his
and-
hand one last little pat and then let him go.
As you let him go and continue your rounds, you can see his smile sort of crack, and you can see the startings of his emotions finally starting to come out a bit. But he gets back to work. As he said, it was a distraction for him at the very least.
Mm-hmm. And if I may, I know I'm taking up a good chunk of time, but I do also want to do a quick check-in with Randall.
Sure, of course, you have, don't worry, you have all the time that you need. As you head down into the Spelljammer throne, you find Eben standing there at the throne, but you don't see Randall immediately. And before long, you make your way back out, and you find that Randall is actually making his way across the deck towards the captain's quarters. Not your personal quarters, but more just the star map, and just trying to cross-reference things, seemingly with the information that's stockpiled in there. When you catch him, and he just seemingly stops and turns at the ready. Captain, did you need something?
No, nothing particular. Randall, it's been a moment since you and I talked, and I wanted to... I'm making sure everyone's all right after everything. I know that you particularly were against this escapade, and I'm sure you have thoughts.
He shakes his head. No, Captain. In fact, I feel that there was nothing we could have done. we played that as best as we could have, and in the end of the day, we were successful. It may not seem that way, and it may not feel that way. But this is not a winnable situation, and it never has been. As always, I have been here as your advisor. I'm no soldier, and with our current crew, we risked severe losses and even death entirely before we could have completed the quest assigned to us. I know this fight all too well. Lilith had destroyed my home ages ago.
Oh. I see, then I'm very sorry then to have put you in what was likely a very traumatic experience.
Not at all. In fact, this is my role. I'm here to serve as the Weaver sees fit. Whatever decision you choose, I will continue to support you however I can. The Weaver sees great things in you, and I do as well. You and the rest of the captains.
Her smile is a little bit crooked at that, and she just kind of shakes her head like, oh, I hope you're not just saying that for my sake. I'd half anticipated you reprimanding me, telling me what a fool I was to lead everyone to certain danger, and frankly, I would deserve it. But I'm thankful for your presence, Randall. And I will continue to rely on you.
He gives a affirming nod. You do splendidly, Captain. Very few people could brave a nautiloid, come out on the other side, as you did. More than that, handling 3 on your first encounter with the beings.
Well, it would hardly do to die and abandon my crew, now would it? I do what I must.
He gives you a smile in return. More than anything, you should prioritize your own safety when you can. It certainly won't do to have us fail in our mission.
Of course.
And more importantly, he shakes his head. Forget the thought. And he seems to just have his vision drift off towards the station, off in the distance.
Well,
You made the right decision. That I am certain of.
Thank you for your vote of confidence, sir. I would ask one last thing of you, as we travel to the fleet. I would ask that you keep an eye on Eben. I am concerned for his well-being.
While I certainly am willing to do as such, I feel such a question is better left for Echo.
I don't disagree, but
It will be done.
I think your impartial eye would also be helpful.
Indeed. Understood. I will keep a close eye, Captain.
Thank you.
And he gives you just a trying to give you a bit of motivation, nodding before going back to his task of ensuring that his research on the star maps is correct.
And I think with everyone checked on, Valentine is going to go back to her own quarters, shut the door, and just instantly just sag. Like, it's clear she's putting on a front of strength for everyone else, and she just essentially she's just going to undress and very tenderly, because she is still like bruised and beaten as all fuck. She almost died today. And getting her comfy nighttime clothes, crawl into bed, and just pass out.
As Valentine sort of tries to settle in, the whispering that's been sort of present this whole time seemingly fades. And as she begins to sort of just take care of her wounds as she can on her own and swap into something more comfortable, it immediately just stops. And as you drift into sleep, you immediately begin to dream. You find yourself back home at the Vonderheist estate. There is a small garden in the back of the property with a sort of simple table, and it's a place where you and Lyra and the others have gone before for having tea and just relaxing, enjoying the sights. And you lean back into your chair and just exhale, only to turn and see that someone is sitting with you. The true form of the sword, Akan, the god of fate and trickery. Well, that was certainly an experience.
Oh, yes, I suppose you could say it was.
And he sort of pulls a teacup out of nowhere, seemingly the world shifting to make this teacup appear in his hands, and he takes a bit of a drink. You notice that within your hands suddenly one has appeared as well. It's got a scent reminiscent of home. You're a bit hesitant to drink it, perhaps.
Yeah, I think out of muscle memory, she like starts to drink it and then realizes, wait a minute, like this is a very odd dream. So she'll just she's holding the saucer in one hand, and we'll set the teacup on it and just, is this normally a thing that you do? Just pop in to minds and dreams?
I had thought to get your attention, but I found it a bit difficult. You are seemingly the busy woman. And he leans back and strokes his chin. Not that I mind, after all. You are busy, and so it is fated that you would do exactly what you would do. At least, as far as I can see.
Am I to assume that yours was the voice I heard earlier?
That it was. I apologize for the abrupt introduction. And he sort of takes a invisible hat that seemingly appears on his head, tips it, and then the hat disappears once more.
Well, as you say, I'm a very busy individual, and unfortunately, the needs of my crew come before all else, so I thank you for your patience, sir.
A smile grows from ear to ear as you say that. Right. Well,
And I assume this isn't a courtesy call.
You can almost feel like his eyes are opening just a bit, just to like give you a bit of a look. But his eyes have always remained closed, as far as you can tell. You are incredibly observant.
Well, men hardly show up out of the blue expecting nothing, so...
No, you are correct. And he seems to just sort of take the teacup and just spin it around a little bit. Awkwardly, it doesn't seem to make any sound, and you're expecting sound of the sliding of the cup on the plate. I have an offering for you.
Is that so?
Your companions are paracausal, as your friend Quill had described. Causes without effects. The things that would ordinarily be impossible become the possible. That is the very nature of you and your companions. I dare not say more. But one of your number has received my interest. Zuza, in particular. Each of them is an individual above a concept so banal as fate. And he gestures to himself a bit. You can't tell if he's annoyed at the fact or he finds it incredibly amusing as his smile never leaves his face. But you, one whom would expect to be ascribed to fate, are in fact outside of it. For reasons I wouldn't know on my own, nor would I divulge if I did. However, I'd like to make you an offering. Your companion, Zuza, will return to the way that she is. Rather, the way that she was. She will be healthy and hale, as much as one who is not necessarily alive could be. And in turn, and he leans across the table, inches from your face, I will change fate to return one that was lost. And he slowly slinks back into his chair. You may feel free to mention this or to discuss it. I'm not intending to take away anyone's choice. That would never be something I would do. In fact, Having choice is the most important part of fate.
She sets the cup and saucer down on the table. I wonder why you even bothered asking me at all, sir. I fail to see how this impacts me, frankly. Would this not be a better question posed to the woman herself, Zusa? I can hardly make a decision to decide the fate of not one but two people. That would be highly unethical.
He shakes his head. No, it's not something for you to decide now. This is a proposition that you will share with the others. So it would seem that your companions are beyond my reaches. You, however, stand at a crossroads.
And if I choose to neglect to mention your deal?
Then nothing will change. Things will stay as they are, and I have no intention of twisting to that of a djinn or a genie. I am not your friend, nor am I your enemy.
And what interest is Zusa to you, exactly? I feel it only reasonable that if I choose to relay this offering, that I understand the finer details of the benefactor's intentions.
The smile seemingly fades from his face a bit. And he sort of slides his saucer a bit forward, and it begins to fade into nothingness. Much like you, I do not like things I do not understand. It is frightening for you as it would for me. I consider myself the god of mortals, to some degree. I am able to live among you, share in your lives, experience the things that you do, unlike my kin. And he seems a bit distracted, looking at his own hands for a moment. What I seek is understanding where one cannot have understanding. A comprehension of the impossible. You and your companions are outside my realm of understanding. Well, you to some degree. Your companions, not so much. In exchange for this aspect of Zusa, I would return Groba to you. I would grant you my boon as much as one can. But the reason I speak to you is because I could only speak to you. I can only understand you, your ambitions, your desires, your fears.
Careful, sir. They know what they say about people who make assumptions.
And he sits back in the chair and faces back towards the estate. You look towards the estate yourself and find that it's burning. Indeed. And he sort of snaps his fingers, and it returns back to normal. Well, I have left my offer to you to share with your companions. Take it as you may, and try not to let your fears get the best of you. He stands up and begins to walk past you, but you notice that he's not actually walking, he's floating. And he seems to rest a hand on your shoulder, but he never actually touches you, he just hovers it over you before he fades into nothingness. And before long, you have almost a dream of just Lyra walking towards you, slithering towards you. And it's quite the pleasant dream, at the very least. You're just reminded of the good times at home. But you do understand that a moment like this is limited.
Oh man.
As for anyone else, Ashala, Lyra, Zuza, is there anything you'd like to do before sort of settling in?
I would. I don't even know who I would ask, or who I could talk to about this. I imagine having Lyra in the conversation would be good, but like, I would love to be able to try and get some insight into what exactly is going on with my whole existence deal right now.
As far as you can tell, just inherently before speaking with anyone else, you are aware that there is an aspect of the sun-devouring wolf where it changes upon consuming a star. How or what it does, you're not necessarily certain, but you imagine that were you to fully embrace your powers rather than keep it chained and restricted as your family has for so many generations, this would be the outcome. While it is an uncomfortable sensation, you are feeling, quite literally, lively. You are feeling energetic in a way that you hadn't in a very long time.
Mhm. See. Hmm. I think thinking back on the encounter with Isolde, that more than anything, she was just afraid of how powerful and in control seeming they were. And I think especially now that even if she's been told, hey, it's not your fault, there is nothing that you could have done to help, even being told that, I think the fact that she feels like she's not been able to, or that she wasn't able to help the party in that moment, that she feels that need, that she has to get stronger one way or another. So if this is somehow related to that, then It feels like something she has to try to embrace somehow.
Before long, does anyone want to interact with Zuza?
Yeah, I'll definitely do something at the very least.
You have some time where you're sort of just pondering on your own before you see Taktha sort of approach you for a moment, but seemingly discourage himself and begin to make his way down. And before you can go and pursue him, you encounter Lyra instead.
Okay.
I imagine Lyra is kind of feeling a little off. There's definitely like a very dour expression that she just constantly holds, but seeing you, it immediately switches to a bit more of concern. Oh, sorry, was I in your way?
Oh, no, no, that's quite all right, Lyra. I honestly, I wasn't quite sure what to make of something, and perhaps you might be able to understand it in a way that I couldn't.
I would be happy to help if there was any way for me to do so.
Well, uh, as you know, I've been feeling rather strange since waking up. Uh, More energetic, lively, alive, really, I suppose, being the main one, and not in an entirely familiar way. And I've been trying to parse out what exactly that means. I know some family history as as to say I know some things of my family history to suggest what might be happening, but uh, that has mostly been conjecture based off of observing from a very large distance the activities of a very difficult to understand entity.
Well, I can do what I can, but I must be honest that this is you are the first person I've ever brought back from. Well, I suppose you were already dead, but state of non-existence.
Hmm.
Would you mind, um, come, come to my room?
Certainly.
Lyra will guide to her room, and then as soon as uh, they're both in there, close the door, and just kind of turn around, say, I'm going to have to be a little intrusive, and I hope that that is all right.
Well, well, I suppose with the fair warning that I can't think of too much to be upset by. Uh, do as you need.
It may be weird, but I'm going to put my hand inside you, see if I can feel something.
All right. That wasn't how I thought it would be conceived, but I am certainly willing to try.
If, uh, here, let me just show you. And she'll just, kind of do the thing where she like kind of lets her hand, uh, more so dissipate into, um, more of loose form, and it's just going to slowly put that like form and then just press it inside of Zuz's chest cavity to try and feel the beating and see if there's anything she can sort of surmise from seemingly her magic, but just to get a better handle on that.
Go ahead and make me a Arcana check
Okay.
with advantage.
Okay.
Ooh.
Oh wow, the two bad rolls. That's only a 9.
While you don't necessarily have an understanding of the body, much less diversity of bodies that come with humanoids, you actually do feel around inside as your hand presses in. And you find a sensation that's odd to you, something that you don't quite understand, but as far as you can tell, the inside of Zuza at present, where her organs would be, is almost like the exact sensation of your own. The feeling of your own hands, gaseous as they are. Almost as if you're reaching out and touching an extension of yourself, but you don't feel it. You're not quite certain as to what this may mean, however. At the very least, you're certain that you're you and Zuza is herself.
Well, it doesn't exactly give me much of a better read on things, but at the very least, whatever is inside of you and beating, it's, well, it's an extension of my own magic. And I know that doesn't take a genius to confirm, but oh, I suppose that is, that's just how it is.
I see.
The and she'll kind of take her hands, remove the one from Souza, and just kind of take them, reform them back, and just says, I've never been quite sure exactly what this is, but it's malleable. It can take the form of whatever I need it to be. And so when when I found you to help you, I took a bit from inside of myself and pressed it into you, thinking that was the only way. So I'm realizing now, considering you have this sun-devouring wolf, that I may have fed it a microscopic sun.
See. I had
I mean,
wondered about that because I've heard in my own family's accounts of uh, experiences the with the wolf that there's something about the wolf changing in nature somehow after it's fed.
And is it a good thing?
I'm I'm not sure.
Considering everything you've told us about this being inside of you, it seems all a very mixed bag.
Mm. Yes, I'm afraid I'm not particularly more knowledgeable in this particular aspect. The, the family had never really gave too much thought or consideration to the idea of trying to further understanding beyond what was necessary to contain it. So I remember that what that Isolde seemed capable of, and I have to wonder if it's anything like that.
Hmm. It's strange to say, but it can't be a bad thing to be alive.
No, I I agree. I'm much obliged that you indulged me thusly.
Indulged, I would not say is the proper word for this kind of thing, but it was more of a necessity. We couldn't lose you.
Mm.
Do you feel guilty that this was necessary?
Mm. I'm I'm not sure. I feel guilty that I wasn't there earlier, but I I suppose that I don't feel guilty about simply being able to continue existing.
After all, you gotta get stronger to be able to face your relative.
Hmm, quite true. I'm still not entirely sure how I'll be able to manage that, but
Well, and forgive me, I'm channeling a bit of my sister here, but you have us, you have the crew. You're not going to go at her alone.
that is true. I suppose that is true. I can't imagine a better group to try such a foolhardy endeavor with.
You're absolutely right. Can I ask you something? Going to
Certainly.
change topics at least a little bit.
All right.
You are a very capable fashion designer, dressmaker, all the above.
I I certainly endeavor.
Well, um, I oh let me step back a moment. Um, Fallon and I are together now.
Oh,
And-
wonderful.
Uh,
Who finally broke the ice?
I don't believe you actually need to ask that question to understand or to know the answer.
Hmm. I silently pass Zots another gold piece.
I have no idea. She asked me to go on a date when we get back, and I have no idea what I want to wear. What do people wear on dates? Do you know? Can you make me something?
It would be my honor. Now, let's see. I know I have my measuring cord about here somewhere. And I don't know how deep you want to go into the montage. I know
And as
that
you
obviously at some point we're going to have to do the changing room montage,
you
but
begin to spend a good bit of time just taking your mind off of things by spending the rest of the evening together and measuring. Ashala, as you were actually staying with Lyra when she insisted on going to go and check on Zuza. And if there's anything you'd like to do, this is your opportunity.
I think after the heavy feelings that they had before, I think making the jump back, as we're now kind of in like I guess the equivalent of hyperspace, now going back to the way we came. She, for like a good while for that, had probably spent her time watching the warp, in self-reflection, thinking that there wasn't anything that could have been done. You know, we didn't even think about engaging. It just happened, and just glad that at least the majority of us even made out of that. It's like she's trying to sort of like convince herself that there was nothing that could have been done. It couldn't have gone better than it did. It happened the way it did, and that's just she's got to have to just live with it.
And given her experience, she's quite used to at least coming to terms with what has happened and overcoming survivor's guilt to some degree.
Mm-hmm. It isn't her first time. It's happened at the very least twice before this. Hell, even probably likely even more. She's been around the block at least a little bit. She isn't not ignorant of the fact that this sort of thing happens. It's just, in an ironic way, it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Is the thing that's kind of gnawing at her. The fact that it was someone who's just so happy-go-lucky and cheerful and uplifting. And I guess in the back of her mind, she kind of just thinks, that's not what a guy like that deserved. But it happened. What can you do? But then there's just another side of herself that's just kind of kicking and be like, are you really just gonna just give up? Like, come on. Like, of all the situations we've been through so far where it could have gone hideously wrong, there's always been something that's got them out of it. There's always been something that pushed them through the end and they came out all right. There's got to be a fix for it. A lot of thoughts just running through her mind back and forth, kind of self-reflecting in and of itself, just trying to just come to some sort of conclusion, trying to make up her mind about things. And it's frustrating. And it's not something that she's hiding either. In fact, she's not even thinking about even hiding it. It's right now, it's just dealing with emotions. As she's just watching the warp. Looking back at where they just came from. Leaving behind the station and all those people. She knows that by themselves they can't do anything to stop that, but is there something else they can at least do to at least help at least a little bit more? A lot of back and forth.
As Ashala battles these thoughts, it becomes a sort of meditation, almost. Trying to come to terms with all of this. The what could be, what was, what is. And then suddenly, an incredibly sharp sensation enters your mind, Ashala. Make a wisdom saving throw.
Ooh.
Okay, interesting. Let's do it. I'll just get... There we go. Just loading up now. Wisdom saving throw. Let's see. Oh, great.
You take 26 points of
Jesus!
psionic damage as a message violently enters your mind, seemingly breaking all the laws of meditation that you understand and psionic connections. This message was beamed to you from afar.
Ashala, do not meditate. You must not let it find you. Do not reach to us. We will contact you when the time comes. Do not let it find you.
Oh.
And you recall the voice of prophecy. A sort of mentor. While certainly not the most pleasant way of receiving a message, you take it as a dire warning, currently.
She winces, very much in pain, as she's currently on 9 hit points.
Oh no!
And she picks up and looks to the blade, and just contemplates a little. What could it be so afraid of that to send me that kind of message? So painful. We've dealt with a lot today. I think I just need to maybe go get some sleep. We can skip the meditations, I think. Especially since it was so intent on me not doing that.
And amidst the pain, you are able to at least find a peaceful rest. But you feel something pulling at you. Make me a wisdom save with advantage.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, that's a lot better.
And you feel yourself drifting to sleep, and you feel the slight sensation of something pulling at you. And you find yourself somewhere else in your dreams. It's cold. It's dark. The same pain you felt from prophecy is now a pain that you're feeling as something of a constant. Digging. Almost as if it seeks to pull your mind apart. You look around, and you find yourself on a vessel. It's cold, steel wrapping around you. You know what it's like to be left in a place like this, but this is different.
Where the
You
hell
feel
am I?
as if something has drawn your consciousness to the station. In the distance, you see what appears to be someone. But you shake your head and find it doesn't seem to be any sort of humanoid you understand. It's slouched. Its arms weigh heavy in front of it as it walks, saunters. Almost as if it can see you, but it walks past you, through you, even. The image of it is blurred, red and bloody. You can't quite tell what you just beheld, but it hurts your mind just to even consider it. In the distance, you hear stomping. Something is moving through the halls, and with every step it approaches. And you feel the pain getting worse with every step. The only thing you can feel yourself to do is to run. As the footsteps grow fainter and fainter, you escape the nightmare. Instead, you find yourself back upon the ship. Lyra curled around you in comfort. And the memory and the pain fade. And you feel at ease. For once in a very long time.
I'll turn to Lyra and just kind of look at her. Huh. That's a thought. I don't recall. Lyra?
Hmm?
Hi. You alright?
Yeah. I think. Sorry, maybe I Should I leave?
No, no, no. I'm just. I think I'm just very confused. I had a very perplexing dream. I think I might just be a bit disorientated. How you feeling, by the way?
Well, all things considered, I suppose. Okay.
Hmm.
I won't lie and say that today wasn't immensely difficult.
Great. Great. Uh, I know it's a thing, and when it comes to space travel, you don't exactly know what you'll find out here, and it still leaves you asking why a lot of the time, though. Especially to somebody like Gropa, you know?
Just the other day, he was showing me some silly little graphic novels filled with strong frogs, telling me about the joys of just seeing himself in them. And well, I just no, he didn't deserve it. And she kind of hesitates for a solid 10 seconds. If I had been there, and never mind. It doesn't do any good to just think like that.
It's just a very odd sensation, especially after this short amount of time that we've been a crew. I think this is the first time I've ever felt this dejected. In a sense, I know he's gone, but I still don't feel right to simply giving up. It doesn't sit right with me, for some reason. I think it would... In a sense, I feel like it would dishonor his memory.
He always was such a happy little frog.
Hmm. Who knows? Maybe in this weird, twisting universe, maybe there might be something out there that... Something out there that might be able to give him a second chance, you know?
There is magic that's capable of that. Not I am not capable of that.
Mm.
But it's a possibility.
If there is such a possibility, I think we owe it to him to at least look into it.
She nods slowly, but then like kind of picks up the pace, just kind of like feeling herself be a little like reassured by this conversation.
Hmm.
Right.
You're very warm, by the way.
I've been told so many times. I mean, you know that.
Oh.
Valentine usually, well, sometimes I suppose would be the better way to say it. It's
Oh.
slept on my fur. But what does that mean?
I just simply see this as something you certainly just don't do with just anybody.
Well, I mean, I suppose there's a heavy degree of trust to be willing to
Certainly.
willing to go unconscious next to somebody. And for myself, I mean, it takes a whole lot of core strength to even keep myself upright, let alone.
I'm gonna be very straight with you. I had such a racking headache the night before. I don't even know why I went to sleep. So if it just might have seemed like I just came here, slumped in, and got into bed with you at any point, I do apologize, but I don't exactly regret this.
She'll just reach her hand up, and it's a formality, but will just do her best to like heal the wound in the bruises of yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I didn't get to this earlier.
Don't you worry, sweetie. They would have healed up, but I do appreciate you expediting it.
No bad brain fog, you there?
Maybe a
She'll
bit of
kind-
bad brain fog. Maybe.
She'll kind of lift herself up, straighten up, and just nuzzle her forehead into a chalice. I'll get rid of it for you then.
Well, happily. Now come here, you. As she wraps her arms around you and pulls you back into the bed.
Lyra just smiles and lets herself fall into the embrace.
Let's just stay like this for 10 more minutes.
Kind of 10 more minutes before school. Kind of 10 more minutes.
Huh. Oh, you think me so educated, but no. I have never been to such a school.
It's an experience. But no, I won't keep you up any longer.
No, I'm happy to stay like this for a little bit longer. Any time with you is nice. It's comforting.
It doesn't take long for the two to drift back into a restful sleep, leaving behind much of the woes of the previous day to find solace within one another. Several hours later, the ship has made something of an advancement towards leaving the horrible star system but for at least another day it remains. Who would like to make their way to the decks first?
You're like you're holding us at gunpoint of like who wants to be the one to experience the bad.
Can't. I'm sleeping. I'm sleeping with Lyra right now.
Too comfy, can't go. I don't know about going to the decks first per se, but after her encounter with the sword spirit, I think before she goes to the others to relay what happened, I do think she wants to talk to Alexander real quick.
You are able to go out, and while you don't find Alexander on the deck, you in fact only see Robert by himself, sort of just staying on alert. He shakes his head and points towards the lower decks. And it doesn't take you long to sort of open up into the bunks and find Alexander sound asleep in his cot.
Oh,
I don't want to wake him, but oh man.
it's a creepy guy.
He's just an EP guy. Does he have his sword on his person?
He does.
Okay.
It's currently, well, not on his person, but it's sort of just resting on the side of his cot. For if he needed to wake up, he would immediately just swing out of bed and grab it and run up to the decks.
Cool. I guess it doesn't really matter too much because we know that the sword spirit doesn't have to be in the sword. It could just waltz around. But I think she will, just for good measure, kind of pick up the sword, carry it away to the other side of the room, and go back to Alexander, if anything, just to show it, like, I don't want to talk to you right now. And gently nudge Alexander awake.
No. Cold. It's too cold for such things. Please, tomorrow.
Good morning, Captain.
Yes, on the morrow would be best. And he sort
is
of
it
rolls
this
over in
dream
his
again?
cot.
Captain, there's a matter of some urgency that we must speak of. She'll nudge him again.
A single eye opens. His head slowly turns back towards you. And you see the eye slowly drift in your direction. And it takes him a minute to process what he's seeing.
Good morning, Captain.
He immediately tries to roll himself up very quickly and falls face first onto the floor, getting the whole cot tangled up around his foot.
Oh, bless his heart.
He's
Captain,
so much more
good to see you.
adorable now.
Are you quite all right?
A bit startled, yes, but alive.
Well, that's all we can hope for each day. I'm sorry to alarm you so early in the morning. I had a matter that I wanted to bring to your attention.
Yes, and he's going to slowly, as if you can't see him, start reaching up towards his foot, which is still tangled within the bunk. Slowly working on unraveling it, and also
she's going to
taking,
do him the She's gonna do him the dignity of not acting like she doesn't notice.
It takes him a bit, and he sort of slinks slowly, as if she wouldn't notice somehow. Sort of waiting for her to go on. And he seems to also reattach the sword to his belt before standing up.
Valentine moved the sword, so it's not in its usual spot.
he sort of reaches around as if he can't find it, but sort of just figures, I will get that when I get it, and stands sort of at the ready, very obviously embarrassed by the whole.
She does, clock him looking for the sword, and she goes, actually, that was the matter that I wish to speak to you about. The being, living in your sword, has it always
Yes.
been so, how should I put this? Mischievous? Does it have a tendency to wander?
There's a sort of blankness to his eyes. Good captain, I believe I know as much about the sword as you do. Arguably less. I recall finding the sword. I recall having the sword in my possession. I recall the entity leaving the sword. But wandering and, well, being mischievous is another thing altogether.
Ah, so something new then, I take it. Well, I would ask that you keep your eye on it to the best of your ability. I know that you and I, in fact, are only human, and there's only so much we can do against such entities, but should he ever speak to you about anything at all, I would ask that you relay it to me as well.
He stands up a bit straighter, having been given a formal task. Your wish is my doing. Seemingly not knowing where he was going with that.
Good. I feel a modicum better knowing that there are now 2 pairs of eyes on him. That's all, Captain.
Understood. I will certainly be as aware as I can be. Though, I do find it interesting. I do recall, at the very least, the blade being special. But, and he holds the blade in his hands, like almost as if he's offering it to you, and then very gently draws the blade from its hilt, from its sheath. And you see that rather than the almost black obsidian that it used to be, it's just a steel scimitar now.
Curious.
Hopefully it will return to me. It would be nice to perhaps not be who I am presently and be more useful to you, but if I can make myself useful as I am, I will make my efforts.
Yes. Curious. Should it change back, notify me. I'd like to keep tabs on it, if possible.
I see. Well, I do at least make an effort to maintain my equipment. Heavens know that Robert would make it difficult for me otherwise. But, indeed, I will let you know should anything change.
Thank you. And Robert's quite right, you know. A warrior is only as good as his weapon. She'll give a little coy smile and a nod farewell.
As you begin to walk away, he sort of reaches out and grabs one of your hands. Hey, Captain. Thank you for yesterday.
Oh. Think nothing of it, Captain.
There's a very comforted smile on his face as he releases and lets you get back on your way. Taking a step out into the hallway, you begin to set out towards your next task when you notice Akan is there just waiting for you.
Oh boy.
Oh, man.
Valentine just sort of tilts her head up. I don't know how tall this guy is. I presume he's taller than her, but just looking down her nose at him, just. Well, I can only assume I wasted my time in asking Alexander where you might be.
I am here with you, in fact. No further, in fact, than your shadow. Currently, I'm just a projection of myself.
Awfully invasive, sir. Haven't you ever heard of asking a lady's permission?
Well, I was invited, after all. But you are correct. As I have said before, my offer still stands. And to make it more comforting, I can remain elsewhere. But unfortunately, for the time being, you are the only one who will be able to see me.
Do you mean to tell me that as of right now, it looks as though I'm speaking aloud to thin air?
Well, if you'd like to think of it that way, in reality, this is happening entirely within your head. And you snap to and realize that you are just in the midst of the deck, almost staring into the space.
This is so discomforting.
I fucking hate this guy.
Valentine will just. She doesn't know if he's there, but she'll just turn to her own shadow and just be like, I would appreciate it if you didn't do that again. But she's going to seek out the others.
I imagine the first person to emerge would be Azusa, finally resting within her own quarters.
Mm-hmm. I sadly have not completed any of my romance arcs yet, so seem to be unoccupied.
Well, at the very least, you can now feel the flittering of your heart whenever you are standing right next to them.
Oh, God.
Your heart now hammers whenever you're near the doctor.
Oh no!
Oh, no. But yes, I imagine that I would be up and about. I don't really know still everything that's going on with me, but trying out other things.
Queer and queer.
Early hours is probably the best time to wander around looking unsure without having to worry about making the crew at ill ease.
Yeah, Lyra would rise probably shortly after.
And probably very shortly after, a Shalar as well.
All four of you find yourself up on the top deck, where Grippa's body has been seemingly moved overnight. You imagine one of the crew members has taken him away.
Good morning, captains.
Morning.
Morning.
How are we feeling today? I hope everyone at least got some rest.
I will admit, the sleep itself, a bit 50-50. However, waking up was more than pleasant. So I'll give it its dues, and the morning so far is making a good day so far.
Yes, I had a rather eventful evening myself, and not in the way that I typically prefer. There's a matter that I wish to bring to your attention. You see, the being that exists in Captain Alexander's sword, the mischievous rake that we were introduced to very briefly. You see, apparently he has a little trouble communicating with the rest of you, so he's made me his personal messenger. And
Oh?
yes, and he's got an offer to make, which, even though I'm sure he would prefer that I remain an unbiased messenger, I have to precede said message that I don't like the offer. You see, it appears that, well, frankly, Azusa has captured his attention.
Really?
And yes, he's deeply concerned and intrigued by the manner of your revival.
I'll admit that we're of the same mind there, at least.
Yes, but I believe he wants the star. And in turn, you would return to your usual, I hope this isn't incorrect to say, but your prior undead state.
Well, I'd
And
hardly call myself undead. But the point's taken. Please do continue.
And in exchange, we get Groba back.
That's a pretty big deal.
Wait,
Yes.
but if he just wants a star, couldn't I just make it for him?
Yes, I believe it's more the fact that he wants the actual thing that kickstarted her heart.
You feel a bit of a whisper in your ear, Valentine. It's different.
It's
not the same.
different. It's different, he says. It's not the same thing.
Oh. I thought that would have been too much of an easy way out.
Yes, whatever whatever it is that your star has done, and whatever Zeus's body has done to accept it, I think it's become a different thing altogether, and that is what he wants. Although, if I'm going to be completely honest, and I hope he can hear this, I think he is trying to manipulate our grief and sympathetic concerns for our fallen comrade to get what he wants.
Mm.
The question is, do we have what is other alternatives? And if we were to try to pursue them, do we think him such a cad as to try and sabotage such efforts?
I intend to stay here. After all, this
No.
is one of the most interesting things I've had in, say, 12,000 years.
No, he says he's still interested in our group's endeavors. I think he finds us particularly entertaining, regardless of our decision.
How reassuring.
Either way, if it's the matter of the star and Zeus's form of real life, I don't know how to describe this, but I think that matter is down to Zusa. If you ask me, that's considering this is something new for her, and whether Zusa wants to or not to relinquish this is entirely up to her.
That's what I told him as well.
What are you feeling, Zusa?
I don't know what exactly he wants with it. I tried to ask him, but he simply said it was a matter of curiosity. And while I'm disinclined to trust him, I don't believe he would do anything nefarious with it. I do think it just is a matter of curiosity for him. I just don't like how he went about asking for it.
So he's speaking to you now.
Yes, occasionally.
You could almost hear him smiling in your shadow.
Oh, God, that's the worst.
That
He's definitely
explains where
definitely
he
here
went.
listening.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly explains where he went after he was with me for a time. I don't know where he went after, but turns out, yeah, you're the new hostess, I suppose.
Yes, well, that's the perks of me not having supernatural abilities, I suppose.
Well,
Is-
then
is
how
that
is
why
how is he
he-
with Athena?
Oh, that would be.
I believe he was
Uh,
with her before her demigod lineage was revealed, so...
Wait, is that
I'm-
what happened?
That's for debate.
This is the first time hearing of it. I was dead most of that.
So that's perfectly up for debate, and I'm pretty sure my father, who is currently the leader of the Gith Yankee or Gith race, didn't always used to be so. So I'm 80% certain that's not the case.
Right, well, we'll have to figure that out before we determine if we need to start some manner of mystery cult.
Yes, but I do want to ask how you've been, Zuza, since coming back.
Well, I've found I have more of the typical trappings of the more recognized form of living. I've been breathing, which has been very unusual, I must say. Very out of character for myself.
Hmm. And
Do you like it?
Huh? Well, I imagine it will be rather inconvenient if I seek to continue my endeavors of effortlessly traversing about in the cold, airless vacuum of space, but that might just simply be the price of doing business.
And for what it's worth, I don't think there's any need to make a decision post haste. I think we would do well to take the time to consider the options.
What other options are there for reviving him? I must admit I'm not particularly familiar with the goings on about of that particular level of magics.
It's far beyond my capabilities, but there are spells. They come with somewhat steep costs, even though putting a value on the life is, well, a moral wrong. But there maybe there'd be somebody, whether it be in the Black Meteor Guild or elsewhere, that could perform it. I definitely would not be capable.
Well, I can imagine if anyone's looked into the doings of the orthodoxly impossible, benefactor, the Weaver, would have quite a wealth of potential knowledge.
And I suppose the Weaver also, Roba is his employee? Employee?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Maybe? Is that too much of wishful thinking?
Oh, I wouldn't say too much. That seemed to be an accurate assessment of their relationship in the past.
Well, perhaps in gratitude for having completed the task, the Weaver can, if they can't do it themselves, to offer assistance in Gerber's revival.
I must admit, I would be rather curious as to what precisely this strange man going about in shadows and swords and brains might offer if the bargaining chip of our dear Groba is no longer at stake.
Quite right. And she's looking at her own shadow. It seems we have a plethora of options at our disposal, so he's going to have to sweeten the deal if he wants the star.
Oh, certainly. I never accept a gentleman's proposal on a first offer, especially not when I haven't even had a chance to be properly courted by them.
Valentine gives a very big grin at that, and just quite right.
Valentine, you actually give a bit of a turn towards your own shadow. And rather than your own shadow, you see a Khan's shadow, as if he was standing in your place and you were not there. Uncomfortably, you can see that he has even a bigger smile, as if he were translucent, like a cartoon, than you currently have.
This guy.
I do so like the word options. One of my favorites, in fact. Such is fate. The choice is always yours. I do not compel you to do it, and if I'd like to, if I truly, dearly wanted, I could have just taken the star, but such a thing is unsavory. I like leaving the options to the people. The gods have no business in deciding things for others. They should be more like me, offering freely. And personally, were I in your shoes, in your exact predicament, without the knowledge that I have of my situations, I would do the same thing. I agree. Your black meteors might be the most potent casters aware. You might even know other casters. Say that green-haired witch living in the underside. She would be a good alternative. As I said, I have nothing to take other than what I have told you. And, as you know, it wouldn't necessarily unburden or burden you. It's an option. And the smile grows even further. And then shifts back to your shadow.
Such a gentleman. He does love to hear himself talk.
I think besides, regardless of the offer, this is a new thing with Zusa. And we don't exactly know what has exactly happened. I mean, for instance, is there anything that you could do before that you can't now because of this?
Well, suppose I've yet to test if I can or can't turn the breathing off, but beyond that, nothing quite immediately comes to mind. DM, is there a way to test to see if I still have that ancestral feature?
You do in fact have it, but it doesn't feel as though it's as cold as it was before. And you don't feel hungry, you feel satiated more than anything. Almost as if, were you to try and utilize it, it would be a bit weaker, if anything. For the time being.
It feels different. Not gone, certainly, but perhaps it might be weaker, but I still feel as though I can do it.
What you mean, the not breathing thing or something else?
Oh, the not breathing thing. I suppose there's other things that I certainly could test. Or I haven't tried engaging my feeding proboscis. I suppose I can just. I'm just gonna try, walking up the side of the mast to see if that still works.
And you're still able to access all of your powers, seemingly. At least the powers you innately had.
Okay. Then, I mean, in a sense, like, we don't want to just immediately dismiss this, I suppose. I mean, how does it feel to have a beating heart, I suppose? Like, the most alive you've ever been, or?
I'm not sure. It's hard to say, but certainly something has changed within me. Something is not the same. But I can't quite say if that is or isn't playing into this fellow's game.
Playing into
I understand this reference, B.
playing into his games or not, I feel like it's at least worth exploring before we, I want to say, immediately pass it up for the offer. Just because this is a new aspect to you now, and it's something that even you don't know anything about. Maybe it might be worth seeing if it's something you want to hold on to before you want to necessarily let it go.
I think that sounds quite right. I feel like it would do me well to live and learn with it and just see from there what else could come of it.
Then I think regardless of anything here, let it be to potentially bring back our dear friend, I think it might be good to just at least take the time to consider, and for you to explore this new lease on life that you have, I suppose. It's unfamiliar territory, and I wouldn't exactly want to just tell you to give it up for anyone.
I've seen how hard you in particular have taken Grover's death. I appreciate that. I appreciate that concern for my own decision in the matter.
Whatever you decide to do, Zuza will support you.
Thank you.
You hear the voice, Valentine, call out from your shadow. Well, it would seem that you are interested in waiting instead.
Well, you did say that we could take our time to decide.
Of course, no.
so
Please, I don't mean to rush you, if anything. It's an important decision. Well, arguably in the grand scheme of things, perhaps not, but it's evident, and I'm not one to be displeasing. My intention is pure in my eyes. You feel the grin growing across his face. But I feel your discontentment. I have no desire to make you unhappy. As such, where would you like for me to wait? Pick an object with the shadow, and I will remain there instead. I do at least understand the concept of privacy, and I do grant you that whenever possible.
And you'll just stay put like a good little puppy, will you?
Oh, well, now that you put it like that. I may wander, but I'll be there when you need me. Not that you do. Well,
In that
that's up for you to
case-
decide.
In that case, I would prefer that you return to the sword from which you came, for the time
Well,
being.
not exactly going to grant it powers again. That
know,
cat is
but
out of
you
the
may
bag.
Of course not, but stay there, sheathed, where I know you will be.
Indeed. Well, I suppose I can get entertainment whenever entertainment is brought to me, at the very least. And he rises from your shadow, only you can see this, and then begins to sink into the floor, disappearing from sight. You feel a little bit less lucky, at the very least.
I don't know how Alexander has been doing it this whole time, carrying that fellow around.
I mean, to be honest, thinking about it, that would probably. I mean, he mentioned he's a god of fate, right?
Yes. Although I will say, he talks a lot, but... And she'll just kind of flex her hands a little bit.
I mean, it probably wouldn't surprise me if he was what influenced his luck during the game that you told us about. In all fairness,
Most definitely think that had something to do with it.
I don't know about you, but I don't feel like there's any maliciousness. If anything, he just sounds and seems very mischievous from the little I've seen of him. And considering
Yes.
I can't see him no more, is I can't tell if I should feel irksome or relieved. In all fairness, I don't know the fellow.
Yes, that's the impression I got as well. I think he just... He claims to be the god of mortals, but if anything, I think mortals are... playthings. Items to be used for his entertainment.
Why would he care about... Oh, do you think he cares about Groba? I suppose let's start there.
Oh, darling, no, I don't think he does at all. He knows that we care.
That does seem to be something of the impression.
For the first god that we have met, he certainly seems like a piece of work.
Well, we can keep antagonizing the fellow, but at the end of the day, we're not going to make any progress just standing around complaining.
Yes, I told him to retreat back to Alexander's sword. I had mentioned to Alexander earlier to keep an eye on it, so we'll at least have someone keeping an eye out for him at all times.
Assuming that Alexander can see him like you can.
I believe so.
Before
She
you
shrugs.
can consider more, Alexander, holding the sheath of the sword with 2 fingers from each hand, almost like a crab, comes waddling up. Valentine! Valentine!
Yes,
Something has
Captain.
happened.
Good, just as intended, then. What has occurred?
Well, he appeared for but a split second and shot me a look and then went into the sword. It's not fancy, and he draws the sword and there's no obsidian aspect to it.
Yes.
You do notice the pommel is a bit dark, at the very least.
Yes, he did. Let me go back. I requested that he return to the sword. And
Why my sword, Captain?
because I told you to keep an eye on it, sir.
Well, I suppose, but it's frightening to say the least. We could have picked a separate sword, and... Okay, fair. I see where you're going, and...
If
I
it's any
will
reassurance,
continue to keep an
Alexander.
watch on it.
Yes, if there's any reassurances, we don't believe him to be malicious. He's more mischievous than anything we believe.
But hopefully, he will stay put. Like a good little puppy.
I love you're trying to have a brat off with him.
Valentine, make a charisma saving throw.
Oh no!
You're antagonizing God. What do you think was going to happen?
17.
He does seem to follow orders quite well, considering he did that without a second thought.
You don't feel anything different.
Oh, okay.
Captain, I don't believe that this is the best of ideas.
Perhaps not, but it did feel good to antagonize him just a bit. So, unfortunately, while your sword has lost its magical capabilities, he did tell me that those were permanently gone. I do think he will stay for the time being. Unless he gets bored, which could very well happen.
I suppose I shall be vigilant in that case. Good to know that we're on the same page at the very least. And he begins to turn and walks away. When he steps, and one of the floorboards actually shifts under his foot, and he almost trips, but he doesn't.
Oh,
He looks to the board, actually, and reaches a hand down in between, and pulls out a small, singular gold dragon. Huh. Fancy that. He flicks it up, catches it in his hand, and then makes his way down the stairs.
Right, so Alexander will be occupied.
Mm-hmm. But I suppose we're still charting our course back to the fleet, if I'm correct. Yes.
Yes, that is the plan.
And we agreed we would use a different route, except considering the last time we went through our previous route, we fought Camriel.
Yes, I would rather not enter its territory again.
especially not after it. I know it ate a celestial body. Was that a moon? A sun?
Star.
Hmm.
It consumed
Either
part of its
way-
energy, but it didn't consume it entirely.
Either way, we're not going anywhere near that thing. I think we should stay as far away from it as possible, at the
Agreed.
very least, until it forgets that we exist.
Indeed. Maybe it might be worth calling for our astrologer friend who might be able to tell us which path we're going exactly.
Hmm.
Before long, you go and grab Randall, who has been seemingly a bit sleepless, as much as one can be in the astral sea. And he seems a bit intent on looking at different paths, and there is a multitude of arcane lettering and symbols drawn over the map. Though you notice, Lyra at the very least, that they are sort of superimposed. They're not actually drawn upon the map, almost like a whiteboard, essentially. The captains, you came at a good time. I've made some estimations and some divinations, and suffice to say, I'm uncertain as to where our lunar friend may have escaped to. However, given the direction he went, the time that we were gone, and numerous other potential considerations of a apex hyperpredator, I've come to the conclusion that we can essentially make a straight line directly towards the fleet. However, if we were to take our time and travel in a sort of winding route to get to the fleet, it's almost certain that we'll throw it off our tail, though more time and space means more chance that we'll run into it.
You suspect it's going to be pursuing us?
Potentially. Though there's no certainty, but would that we are a threat to its territory, I wouldn't be surprised that it's seeking to take more from us. Lest I forget, I am at least somewhat aware of the stars that exist just beyond our reach. I believe this should be somewhat consistent for where we would be able to travel if we were interested in traveling back towards the Githyanki Rift. Bit of a dead end, but what could be lurking beyond those stars is a different question altogether. Our current course has us heading directly towards the star that will lead us directly back to the fleet, though I'm willing to entertain other ideas, if there are any.
You're the expert.
Well, admittingly,
Wait.
despite my experiences with the dragon itself, I can't exactly figure out if it really would hold such a massive grudge, but if I was a dragon, or at least if I had the mindset of one, I would be pretty pissed at nearly being wiped out by a single vessel of how many?
10?
All I know is whether it wants vengeance or not. Dragons are fiercely territorial. And the longer we stay in its territory, the more likely it is that we will encounter it. I don't like the idea of lingering in space very much, but perhaps it would be safer to skirt the edges rather than dive in head first and hope we find the fleet faster than we find it.
Would be extending our trip by several months, at the very least.
Months.
DM friend. Can I cast augury on this decision?
You may.
Ooh.
Go ahead and click it so I can see exactly what it portends. Casting gem inlaid sticks, rolling dragon bones, or laying out ornate cards, or employing other divining tools, you receive an omen from an otherworldly entity about the results of a specific course of action you plan to take within the next 30 minutes. You find... For which decision are you interested in?
Specifically, the safety of going straight to this star and then towards the fleet.
You find Wheel and Woe.
Oh, yeah,
What?
that's about what I expected.
I just imagine, just to add a little flavor while people are talking this through, Lyra's kind of like looking at her arms and just sees like both like a calm, but there's like a strange light at the same time.
Roll me
She'll
an
just-
Arcana check.
Okay. As a wisdom caster, I'm playing a class that feels like I
sorry,
really should be an intelligence caster.
No, play
it's
play
fine.
wisdom. No, play wisdom. Play. You know what? You can add a. Do you have an option to add Arcana as a wisdom check?
There might be an option.
It can
For
certainly be
now,
made as a
roll
wisdom
a.
or something.
You have proficiency in Arcana, correct?
Correct.
Go ahead and roll me just like
roll
a
like it's
wisdom check.
wisdom.
Yeah, and then just add your proficiency bonus to it.
That's only a 13, even with the better roll.
You're not quite used to this. And you're not necessarily certain how to interpret it. But you do note at least a constellation that runs along your arm. And at the very end of it, is something that matches up at least with where the fleet currently is, the purple star. But right at where you feel that spot where the purple star is, it feels a bit cold, is the very least. That's the only thing you can obtain from this reading. Bless you, Miss Lucy.
And I think she'll just speak up. Because sorry, just to recap, you said that the feeling of this star is the one that's giving the bad vibes, or the weird vibes, I should say.
Unusual vibes, yes.
Okay, but not with this one.
Nope.
Okay. Then Lyra is just going to speak up and just say, I am not certain of what I speak, so please understand and take this with a grain of salt. But, well, I believe most of you know that there seems to be some sort of star map hidden inside of, well, not hidden, displaying in my being.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be some strange activity, at least coming from the star that the fleet is currently closest to. So, perhaps we go southwest, and then just directly south, and then go from there? That's what I believe I'm reading. Once again, I'm new at this and I could be wrong.
Oh, your guess is likely better than ours.
Oh, wait. If we're worried about where the fleet's currently located, correct?
The purple star, yes.
Yes, the fleet is presently on the purple star.
If I recall correctly, did we not have a handler who could relay a message to Lex I believe it was a fairy dragon, if I recall, correct?
And you see a puff of smoke appear.
Yes, I am still present and have taken note.
Oh, well, by any chance, did you notice the shit show that was what happened to the planet we were meant to go to?
Quite frightening indeed, yes. However, I am bound to mortal confines as you all are, and I cannot relay between the realms at the very least.
So it's more of a once we arrive at the fleet, then naturally you would be able to just simply go to Frigate himself.
Indeed, yes, correct.
Well, that was at least worth a try. Thank you for revealing yourself
Indeed.
and clarifying.
Good day, crystal dragons.
And he disappears
day.
again.
Well, at least we'll have a witness.
Hello.
At least we'll have a witness to everything that we encountered.
Quite. For weal or for woe, I suppose. But that being
Unfortunately, sounds
said,
like Will and Woe from what Lyra said.
I don't think there's anywhere in the galaxy that will be free of woe, to be fair.
Yes, that's my hunch exactly. So if we'll... I think taking any path that begins with wheel is a good enough heading for me.
So it will be done. I will relay this to Echo and Eben immediately.
Thank you.
So, I find it interesting if Hammerelf was to attack towards the fleet. If one of our ships was enough to throw him off, I can't imagine that any sort of power-up would prepare someone to directly attack the fleet by large. Perhaps your augury is suggesting something other than our friend.
That may be, but well, it's hard to say exactly what woe would be. Perhaps it's as simple as Lex Frigate being disappointed in us, in which case he can kindly remembering that the fairy dragon is right there, be advised of the proper situation.
You just hear the invisible sound of someone writing something down.
It's like a little pen click, like a...
Right then. I think the destination's at least been decided and the course charted. Is there anything else we need to discuss besides?
Well, in
don't-
truth, necessarily nothing that I can at least foretell.
I don't believe so, but thank you for believing in me. I hope I have not led us astray.
Well, even if you have, we shall endeavor to face such trials together.
If anything,
After
sweetie,
all.
having the warning is appreciated.
Of course.
Valentine just lifts her brows at the affectionate pet names and suddenly remembers the how she was called her sister-in-law before during battle. Flashbacks.
I did say
Aw.
potential.
Yep,
I didn't.
yep.
And with that, the course has been set. And it takes about the rest of the day for the ship to ready itself and begin to make the jump in between spaces. There is a bit of a feeling of uncertainty. The success of the Weaver's mission, escaping with your lives, Ashala discovering more about herself, Lyra discovering more about herself, the loss of Groba. It's bittersweet, the journey, at the very least. And before long, the ship arrives back at the orange star that you had seen previously passing through. As you are arriving within the star system once more, Randall calls for Lyra once more. Out of curiosity, would you be able to just look with me using your arcane talents? I have no desire to look at the
of
planet
course.
again, but... And
Anything I can do to help.
Randall is going to raise his spinning Ori, and seemingly just like looks towards you to cast some type of spell to divine what they might see, some things that he may not be able to see, as the Ori begins to take the form of the solar system itself, each planet seemingly appearing and taking a shape. You may choose to buff it just innately with just magics. You may cast a specific spell.
I think, considering her practice using augury last time, she would probably do the same to try and enhance if she can.
Go ahead and cast Augury again.
Okay. I think I just
Yes,
do it.
yeah.
So
In this case, you see a singular image appear upon the Ori. You're a bit confused, as the image is just a black dot appearing within the Ori. It's not connected to any of the circles. It's just something that happens to exist, almost as if watching overhead in the solar system. Randall seems a bit confused and begins to overlay an image upon the Ori. But looking around, everything seems to be in place, but there's just a nothingness in the general direction. It's just space.
So the direction we're heading, like the direction towards the fleet, there's just this vibe of nothingness.
There's nothing in the way. It's seemingly above, looking down at you, essentially.
Hmm.
And you can't quite tell what it is. It just seems to be nothing. Odd. I don't recall there being any other planetary bodies in this system. At least none that I was aware of. I'll be keeping an eye on things. Perhaps your reading may have done more than you think. And he's just going to close up his Ori and start making his way out.
She's very unsure at this point. Just like, oh god, did I mess up? Essentially, is the question going through her head. She'll just look down into the star chart of her arms and just try and see if anything has changed.
Roll me an Arcana check. You may use Wisdom.
I changed it to add the difference in my modifiers
Okay.
to the int check of Arcana just to kind of make it essentially that. So that's what you will see here. Okay, natural 20 for a total of 29.
You almost feel something dense just trying to hone in on that part of your arm. And you're certain that something is there. It wasn't a mistake. And you make your way up to the top deck, and you seemingly detect magic just inherently as any caster can. And rather than the usual light of the stars that you would see, a sort of rainbow hue that causes a bit of fuzz over everything when in space, instead, you see a bright outline of a massive structure sitting over the solar system. It's a bit of a blob as you see the outline of it, but there's some sort of structure just hanging above the star.
And this is literally right above us. Or not right above, but
It's in the distance,
distant above.
but you see it.
I think she would look around for anybody else that's nearby and just try and validate that if they can see it or not.
You see checks.
Oh god. Bless his heart. Checks.
What do you want from checks?
Can you look up for me? Does up look any bit different than
Are you making
how
fun of
you're
checks?
No, I'm not making fun of checks at all.
And as you look at checks, you realize that he can't really make his neck go all the way up. So he has to kind of just bend his back upwards to look up. Checks see nothing. Checks see ship. Checks see stars. And you hear his back crack a little bit. Oh, good checks, Pop. Oh, thank you, Captain.
Oh,
And he gives you a pat and starts walking away.
Not feeling reassured in the slightest.
He's only a few feet away. He's still walking.
So you saw nothing up there? No gigantic black blob for anything?
Chex just sort of gives you a look and tilts his head. And then turns towards space and just waves his hands. All of space, big black blob.
Fair enough, Jax. I appreciate your assistance in confirming for me. Immediately goes to find the nearest captain.
Let's see. Souza, you are taking a bit of a moment to look out over the deck when you see Lyra slithering a bit hastily over towards you.
Dude, I hate to bother you, and I realize this may sound like an insane question, or rather than insane, a strange question. Do you look directly up? Do you see anything up there something that seems odd.
Zuza, make an Arcana check with disadvantage.
Ooh, okay. Come on, big number. Come on, big numbers. That's a
Okay.
6.
Oh yeah, disadvantage.
You take a look and it's a bit dark. There's not like many stars there. You don't find it particularly odd.
Hmm. I mean, it certainly seems a little starless than normal, perhaps, but perhaps I'm simply not seeing it.
Okay.
Should we fetch another captain?
Am I? Oh, I don't want to
I
seem
wanted to see just
insane.
like, no. I believe you can see something. I simply can't see it myself. I just want to see an increasing retinue of people that we're trying to get to see this.
Just watch everyone get a 1 and think she's insane.
Okay, fine. Well, summon the other co-captains. I don't want to seem like I'm insane any longer.
Oh, you're not. You're not insane. You're quite sane.
You go and you
Hardly.
call for Echo to reach out to the others, and before long, Valentine and Deshala have made their way over towards
Okay,
you.
so here's the thing. I'm sorry for bothering you, but I know it's a strange question, but I need you to look up and tell me if you see something. Please tell me you see something.
Both of you can make
Something-
Arcana checks.
Something akin to what exactly, Lyra?
There's. I feel insane just saying it, but there seems to be a gigantic black something just floating above us
You know what?
at present.
Let's go, Shala.
You know, It's Lyra. If she's like genuinely concerned about things, she's gonna put some F into it. I'm adding a D8 to it.
28.
Goddamn.
I got a 12.
Valentine, you, with your special eyes, do not particularly see
My human eyes.
your human eyes. Don't see anything out of the ordinary, but you do agree with Zuza that it is a bit odd at the very least. That there's just a patch of starless sky.
I don't see anything, but I suppose seeing nothing is odd.
Azura,
Great, time to
Roll
witness
me.
an eldritch abomination and like fall onto the ground and throw off at the mouth.
roll me a perception check.
Oh.
You can see an outline. And you try your damnedest to hone in your eyes to it. And after some time of trying to fixate on it, you do agree, at the very least, you do see something. And you hone your eyes incredibly carefully. And to the best of your knowledge, roll me a history check as well.
Oof. Okay.
So many checks for this.
I'll throw another D8 into it. Fuck.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's a 20.
You immediately feel a bit uneasy, but you know what it is.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Not another Shala trauma point.
A long, long time ago,
Oh.
when you were little, you had asked Scaife how the fleet, being a floating mass of rocks, could possibly compare to the Federation, where Scaife had originally come from. And he laughed and said, well, The Federation doesn't know about the guns. The guns, you asked. And he nodded to you affirmingly. And had told you that, supposedly, the reason why Lex Frigate had never been challenged by the Federation was because the quadrant that the fleet patrols is guarded by several weapons of extreme mass destruction that were entirely under his control. Freedom enforcers, he liked to call them. And would that any threat approached, at least a threat that he deemed significant enough, they would initialize and essentially remove the threat from the universe. What you are looking at, and you are certain of it, is you are looking at part of the invisibility of a cloaked, massive superweapon.
So I propose we pretend we didn't see it and just move on.
What is it?
It dwarfs the space station from the Federation.
You see it, and it's you know what it is.
Okay. So, let's just say it's friendly, friendly-ish, kinda. Yeah, sort of. It belongs to the fleet, so that's fine. At least I think, looking at it, and from the stories I've been told by my adoptive father. I don't know if I should say this aloud.
Well, what I'm gathering is that if it wanted us dead, we would probably already be dead.
Yes.
And that we should absolutely get the hell out of here as soon as possible. Is that correct?
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah, we don't touch that.
Okay.
No.
Be to oblige.
Yeah. Let's just say there's a reason why the fleet has been allowed to go as long as they have been uncontested. And let's leave it at that. I'm gonna go and sort out the crew.
Okay.
As she walks off. Mildly perturbed.
Looks over to Valentine just with like this confused puppy face.
I'm sure it's fine. As you say, if we were in any danger, we'd certainly know by now.
Right. If anything, you would think that would keep Kenrith away from here, right?
Indeed.
So let's look at it as a horrifying protector.
I think that's likely for the best.
Okay. Echo, would you mind relaying our findings to Robert? Not Robert, shoot, our
Randall, yes.
astrologer. Randall.
On the way.
I just switched up the R's.
And you see her little projection disappear immediately. Within seconds, Randall comes running in. Now, I've heard rumors of such things.
How are you taking
But-
this so calmly?
It means that we are safe, more than anything.
Well, that's good.
My question is, if there's one here, why was there not one in Camriel's domain? That would line up with the path of the fleet. At the very most, as much as we could consider an omen, though I'm uncertain as to why it did not appear as positive, it did at least appear as a good omen. At least in my understanding. We should consider it as such, for the time being.
Fair enough. Faith is horrifying.
Space is indeed horrifying. I much preferred terrestrial ground, but such is the lives we live. I just thought it would be best to assuage your fears, lest you take it a bit the wrong way.
Right.
And Randall is going to step out and just take a big gasp he's not used to running very much, but he was at least concerned that you all might do something a bit rash, potentially.
We would never.
Us, Rash?
I don't even know what that means.
Randall, we found an invisible thing with fire right here, right there.
You see, for the two co-captains, you see Lyra just kind of go up against the ship and just kind of like flop, just like, I don't like being able to see things like this.
It's always nice to know, isn't it?
Mhm.
Right.
The rest of the time traveling in this star is unremarkable. However, as the time seems to approach its end, there's still a bit of a crossroads ahead. Proceed directly to the fleet and whatever may await, or travel instead towards the unknown star.
Oh, what are you thinking?
We don't know if we've experienced our woe yet, although I think a massive superweapon constitutes as woe in my book. But
I mean, to be fair, out of character, like Ajala was just scared because this just feels like something you're not meant to see, and if it just feels like, oh, if you're witnessing this, well, then I guess we no witnesses, you know.
If we can see it though, and it's supposed to be invisible though, that does feel like, hey, this feels like a problem. What's going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I suppose, if I may make another augury check on going specifically to the new star.
Okay.
It's like, does that seem like a good idea, or is it also a bit of woe?
Casting augury a third time, you find let's see what you find. You find another nothing of a reading. Neither good nor bad, but not good nor bad, it's just a nothing. There is no result that you feel from your augury.
I'm not getting a good reading on this. All I know is that there was a cold feeling where the fleet currently is. And, well, nothing from the others. So, either way, we're heading into the unknown. And I leave that up to
Sorry.
your discretion.
I feel that I'd almost rather just go straight there and if we know something is there that's potentially bad, we can anticipate it, right? I mean,
That would make sense to me.
And if something bad's happening at the fleet, then, well, I believe we should be trying to protect it.
agreed.
Yes.
Assuming the fleet itself is in danger, that is. I mean, considering the population of the fleet, it could be maybe something a little bit more internal, though.
True. We don't know what matter of woe we're about to encounter.
Yeah. Perhaps maybe we proceed ahead with due caution.
Hmm.
And maybe keep the the items of importance closely guarded until they are safely delivered. Perhaps.
Yes, good idea. And I will, without rousing panic, I will alert the crew to be on their toes. Not that we're anticipating trouble per se, but just to be aware.
Mm-hmm. Better that they know than not.
You inform the rest of the crew of the intended path, and you prepare Robert and Alexander and Chex that there may be some threat upcoming. Randall insists that he will continue to investigate on his own, but he doesn't seem to recognize anything in particular. He's seemingly having the same trouble with the spell. And within the next couple of days, the ship makes its decision and arrives on the outskirts of the fleet. And it doesn't take long for the ship to find its way back to the usual docks, where it is safe and sound. And you arrive, seemingly without incident. The fleet is still bustling as ever as you approach. Almost beginning to wonder what the woe could have been.
At least it's not mind flayers.
Yup.
Yeah, speaking of, I do believe our intermediary will likely probably go immediately to frigate once we do dock, I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm.
You call out for him, but he doesn't seem to appear.
Oh, he's gone already.
Could very well be, for all we know.
We're seeing like other people, right?
There are other people, yes. You are seeing people wander about.
Okay. Okay.
Hey, DM, Not
Yes.
divination wizard here. Can I ritual cast divination? And ask what is the woe?
You may.
Lyra's anxiety just spiking.
Mood.
Let's see. Contact with the god or god's servants.
God, please don't let it be on.
Yeah, that would be bad.
As you are casting this spell, you can hear
This takes
shouting
10
coming from the
minutes.
lower decks.
Oh.
Oh no!
Before a levitating sword is drawn to you,
That's funny.
and unsheaths itself, dropping the sheath limply to the ground, and pointing towards the ground. At least the blade. Ask your
Seems
question.
our friend has something to say.
Well, is there any guidance that you could offer?
Well, you might
I think
want
you have
be
to
a
ask the
bit more-
question, sweetie.
You might want to be a bit more specific.
Okay.
dear.
The question is, what is the woe that we should be expecting
The sword
here at the
immediately
fleet?
begins to float down to the ground and begin drawing a picture into the floor. Zuza, make me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
That's a 10.
Uh-oh.
As the blade is drawing, and you seem a bit intent on trying to figure out what it is, you suddenly feel very cold. And the image is concluded as it's finished drawing.
Oh, this guy.
And that is where we are going to stop.
Oh no.
Thank you all
Uh-oh.
so much for coming. I hope you all had a lot of fun coming back.
Always.
Mhm.
Let us see who is around today.
Should have been able to put that one together, to be honest. I'm gonna be real. There's a cold feeling. Maybe it's the horrifying person that emanates coldness.
I mean, to be fair, it has been a while.
It has been a while.
Let us go and see. Inari LaFay, tiny little fox guy, wonderful little fox guy. He's actively actually been supporting our charity stream, which we've been doing. If you're interested, you actually can donate to support the cast. There are some fun incentives. Just looking specifically right now, I believe you can get you can give them advantage. You can give them specifically an inspiration. You can donate them magic items, which I think would be fun and cool. And there is also, I believe, an option to specifically have your character appear as something of a crew member. That's more of a surprise for later. These rewards are $20, $10, and I believe $5 respectively in reverse. Yeah, if you're interested, it goes to a great cause. There's a lot we can do, and let's see what Inari is up to. And I will see you all next time. As always, safe travels. Bye bye.
Have a good one, y'all.
Bye.